thought about doing a 40th anniversary?
I never sought money, even with Apple and computer designs, was never my idea. So I gave my money away to all good things, and I do not have the funds to fund another US Festival.
Okay, I got a question from David Diamond from Berlin. And by the way, this is a little known fact. David Diamond was the youngest musician to play both US festivals. He was 19 years old when he took that stage with us. His question to you, Steve, is so many new technologies have come along since the Apple II. Seeing what's going on, do you ever get the itch to start inventing again, or are you already?
I spent maybe 30 years or more just following up on the latest Apple products and the latest apps and how they work and being familiar with them and all in that world. And it dragged me away from the developer world, you know. And in recent times, I've also had a big career as a public speaker. That's how I support my family now. And I'm very popular, go all around the world, 100 gigs a year, maybe half of them foreign, always flying, always away from home. And then now, especially during this relaxed time, and things were cutting back anyway, I started saying, you know, I want to go back. I picked up a little, like a computer for kids, Raspberry Pi, and I started learning it, learning Linux for the first time. And I created a whole bunch of cool little projects around my home. Some of them are good for pranks, and some of them are actually very, very, very useful. And even this morning, I woke up thinking, you know, if I stop my speaking career now, what would I do? And oh my God, a bunch of Raspberry Pi based projects popped in my head, including a little robot that washes my car all night while I'm sleeping, 1 square centimeter at a time. And I'd love to, because I know that's me. It's when you fight to get something to work and you're just struggling, trying to figure out why it's not working. And then finally you break through and it works. And that's me. That's my heart.
Is there something that has happened in technology over the last few years that made your head spin and go, wow, where did that come from? For me, the thing that has shocked me is what we're doing right now, video conferencing and video phones. When I was a kid growing up, that was, you know, the goal. One day we'll have a video phone, and suddenly it was there without any announcement. It was on everyone's smartphone.
Yeah, almost everything has. I mean, when we started Apple, the amount of memory that would hold one song of music cost about $1 million, good fraction of $1 million. Yeah, how would you ever imagine an iPod? You see, this is so far off in the future. Now, it's going to happen because of what's called Moore's Law, exponential growth of how much computer smartness you can put on a chip. One little chip for the same price was going to increase that many times, but how do you know when Moore's Law ends? There's physics, there's physical principles. So we could never imagine that we'd even have devices with songs stored like a computer. Then came the internet too. Whoa, this internet, you can reach anywhere in the world. And at first it was like the breath of freedom. Now it's more like this is the way we're all controlled. We don't really have many choices except to be controlled the way we almost have to use the internet nowadays. So that one bothers me. Bandwidth, the fact that we would get up to enough bandwidth to have video, live video and many streams, and now we're, you know, we almost talk, you know, gigabytes to your home is what you want. I live in the one part of Silicon Valley with no broadband, and I used to spend 7 hours to download one iTunes movie, or many times my wife and I would drive 5 minutes to an Apple store in town. We'd drive at midnight and park until 4 or 6 in the morning downloading tons of stuff to our phones. So, and of course the phones, the shrinking of technology becoming so personal, smartphones, but the cellular bandwidth, the fact that you can also get video right out of the air cellular used to be, my God, it only was going to come to you on a cable, like cable TV through the ground. So even as a technologist and an engineer, these things surprised me, how far they went and that they happened. So thank heavens in this coronavirus shutdown that we do have computers and internet and video conferencing. Thank God. Because what would we be doing without that? And people say, oh, it's not like the old days where you have true love with people right next to you that you can hold and share your values and talk. Well, wait a minute. No, we do have to say my best friends aren't the people that are right within, 30 feet of me. They're all over the world. Wherever they are, these are the people that I am like in values and personality. So no, thankful for all that.
Now, you said about the US Festival that it touches you to know that it changed people's lives, that it became a moment in time for them that they can go back to in their mind and say, I'm so glad I was there. But you've also done that in technology. I mean, you and Steve Jobs really changed the world. It's incredible what you've done. Is there moments when you know, look in the mirror and you're getting ready and you go, holy crap, look what I've done?
Never hit me that way because I was just in a part in the world that I had trained myself from elementary school on to be certain type of engineer, and especially skilled at certain things that turned out to be the computers that started Apple. So I was just doing what I would have done on my own time. Didn't ever think of we're starting a company to make money. Matter of fact, I turned down the big money to start our company at first because I didn't want to be responsible for running a company. I knew how to make computers. And later I changed my mind when I realized that it was okay to start a company and be an engineer, and you didn't have to be the businessman making decisions for others. I don't like to push others out as saying, you're unequal to me. I'm important. I'm making the rules for you. I don't like to do that. You have to some extent, but I just didn't want to be a person, you know, running things and managing others. In all my time at Apple, I'm still on the payroll. Matter of fact, I've only once ever had one employee that reported to me, a technician.
Well, that was very different than the US Festival, because suddenly you've got all these people reporting to you when you're putting something together at that scale. David Bowie is reporting to you, you know, Motley Crue is reporting to you. I mean, that must have been a head trip.
I've met some of these people in other situations, and they come up and oh my gosh, somebody like David Bowie even has good thoughts of me and, you know, admires me for certain things. I also read their books, you know, Motley Crue, The Dirt, and that Festival was a big turning point in their life too.
Steve, did you ever write a book about it, or are you thinking of doing that? Because the whole process and making it all happen, all the stories you have about it, you know, with all of these bands?
Not about the US Festival directly, because I wasn't doing the operations and I was too scared. Matter of fact, when we were done, I had access to every single group that had been taped. And I said, oh, I'll just take some raw pneumatic tapes, some smaller tapes with the time codes on them, you know, not something I could kind of turn into a product, because I don't want to ever be accused of, you know, I'm so humble. I just don't want to be accused of ripping somebody off or making money when I shouldn't.
How about you, Richard? You have even more bigger audience than you ever did with Sirius XM, and I mean, what's lighting you up now?
I think what lights me up is the fact that, as Steve was saying, in a way, that the music means so much to so many people. And I just consider myself in a very fortunate place where I'm able to bring music to people and help them relive their memories. And occasionally within my shows, bring new music out. You know, when your album came out, Transcendence, I was so excited to be able to play tracks from it on the radio on New Sensation. And right now I'm really happy that Sparks have a great new album out called A Steady Drip, 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 and Dramarama, a band that, you know, we've both done a lot of gigs with over the years, have their first new album out in 15 years called Color TV. So that gets me excited that I'm able, in this coronavirus isolation time, to be able to still reach out on my radio show and play new music as well as the classics that keep us going. So that's what really motivates me. And then the other thing is, you know, my side project is writing, and I just finished my fourth book. I wrote 2 books during this coronavirus, so it's really exciting for me.
You had a big hit with your own book about yourself and your life.
Well, you were a big part of it. You know, I mean, so many people say when they pick up World in My Eyes that they don't read it from the beginning. They go immediately to the to No More Words. And then before they read the rest of the book, they send me an email going, you son of a bitch, you know? And it's like...
We had a tumultuous time together. The most amazing thing is, after what, 37, 38 years, how long we've known each other, he's just the greatest friend, Steve. He's just a great guy, such a support, such a wonder in my life. And
Richard,
back at you, you know, I mean, without a doubt, as I've always said, and I would step in front of a bus for you. I've been privileged to know people like Terri and to meet people like Steve through the years, because, I mean, you are very special people, not just to me, but to the planet. And it's amazing to be able to be around people like that.
Well, Richard, you mentioned Sirius XM. And what show are you on?
I have a channel called Channel 33, First Wave, and I do a daily show on that. And it plays all the bands that we love. It's Bowie, it's In Excess, it's Berlin, it's The Clash, it's the Stray Cats. And it's the hip side of the 80s. It would be Steve Wozniak's day number 1 of the US Festival.
What I love about Sirius XM radio is several of the channels have DJs that pick the music themselves. It's not sort of the canned, production thing of music. They pick the songs. They know the groups. They know the history of the music. They care about it. And those are the ones that I listen to almost all the time on Sirius XM. So I'm glad you're there. There was one musician from Airborne Toxic Event, Mikel Jolet, and he came out with a memoir called Hollywood Park, and I ordered it. It was the most incredible autobiography or memoir I ever read. The guy's an incredible writer, and he went through the most tumultuous, dysfunctional early start in his life and got to turning point where he decided to turn around and be something good and worthy. And that book, Hollywood Park, wow, just changed me a lot.
I've got a couple more questions. One of them here is about Oingo Boingo and the English Beat. They played at both US festivals.
To the people doing the booking, I mentioned my favoritism for Oingo Boingo, not necessarily English Beat, but we didn't, and we had 2 different booking people, so they didn't have the same contacts in the world at the 2 US festivals. So it was partly accidental, except Oingo Boingo, I really loved what they did the first year, so of course the second.
Cool. And then David Bowie. David Bowie was one of the last big gets for the second US Festival, for US Festival 83. Was that something that you personally wanted because of, who he was? Because Bowie meant so much to so many people.
Yes, although I did not really pick groups, I was very instrumental in Bowie being there. And basically, we needed a top headliner in the world. Bowie was the best, but he was over in Europe. He could just barely make it over here with, private flights and all the equipment. And so it set the salary level at a very high level. So all the other headliners wanted to be at that level, which actually cost us a lot. But that Bowie was there. And he was the last performer to play on the last night. And although it had been very hot in the days, it got very, very cold at night. People were starting little bonfires out in the audience. And maybe half of them actually left because it was just too late in the day and too cold.
David Diamond wanted me to bring up that there was actually a country day, and you did that the following week, right?
Right. 1 week later, country day. I was personally into a lot of country music, starting with an esoteric station that played a lot of what's now called Americana, and the station was called KFAT. And all they did, every music could be from any genre at all of music, but it had to be good. Every song had to be good. It was real people that believed in music and loved music started that station. It was different than any other station in our area. And that had gotten me in that direction. So we had a country day, had a lot of my favorite groups, and probably a couple that I'd wanted that we couldn't get that year, like Bellamy Brothers. And then we had so many strong country headliners. I had to actually turn down even Kenny Rogers, personally, that we have enough.
Yeah, that was asked a number of times by our followers. Were there any bands that you couldn't get that you were sad about?
No, because I was trusting people that know how to book the bands, what their value is per band, and which ones fit what days, and which ones should be paid this much. People who knew that. I did get excited about pursuing the Eagles for reunion, but there was a holdout for the Eagles being the Eagles, and we had. I really wanted Springsteen. I pushed hard, and we pushed hard, and we got through, and we got that he really was kind of interested, but turned it down.
Now, in a way, what you did with the country day following the next weekend set the stage for Coachella, because Coachella does almost exactly the same thing. They do the 3-day festival, and then the following week, they do Stagecoach on the same grounds, the same stage, and make it a country festival.
I don't know about Coachella because I'm living up north, but I'll tell you, I said I don't go to any of these big stadium concerts. Oh yeah, I go to the festivals that are up here in Golden Gate Park, Outside Lands and Hardly Strictly. And Hardly Strictly is amazing. It's kind of a country-ish, based on bluegrass and all the variations of that festival. And it's they're all over the country, but this is like the best one, and it's free. And the guy who put it on, somebody Hellman, I forget his first name right now. put up the money for it to be free every year. And it's still, when he died, it's still his will has it going for quite a few more years. And it's like the best one, and it's just free. And all the stages are there. And it's quite an event for, days, 3-day festival.
And you go to those?
I go to those. At first, I was going to them on my Segway because you could get around from stage to stage on a Segway without having to walk. The stages are generally very far apart in some place like Golden Gate Park. And then they started banning where the Segways could be, and they banned them more and more. It's like every place I go to, I ride my Segways until they banned me out. Even my own amphitheater that I started with Bill Graham, eventually they banned my Segways and stopped me from going up the stairs onto the lawn. And then I'd go up a hill behind the thing and in through with an all access pass into a little beer area, and then I'd come down on the grass, and they'd be on their walkie-talkies. How did Wozniak get up there? I like being a little bit of a rebel, little bit misbehaving.
I agree with Steve. I love going to festivals because I see bands that I wouldn't normally see. It's, I wouldn't spend the money to go see a certain band, but they're on the bill, so I'll check them out. I love it. I love playing them. I love going to festivals because I get to meet a lot of the different bands that I don't know, and I'm not carrying the whole show, so it's easier for Berlin to play the festival. And it's just a community. It becomes a community, the festival, and you created one of the greatest of all time.
That was my real idea, not just the music, but the community, all the people with sharing a fun time and all that, and what it amounts to. But my wife and I go to concerts all the time, these little places, and I like to get right up to the stage, get in early access or something, and be standing right at the stage. Or in the big festivals, the outdoor festivals. Oh, we have a plan. We kind of move up act by act by act, planning for the later acts in the evening. We get to hang out right by the stage. No, we take it seriously. It's a real great thing to be there and feel a part of it.
Okay, last question. We're almost out of time. Richard, I got a question for you.
Okay.
You were definitely active backstage, just, making sure everybody was doing well and keeping the energy going. And, there were a fuckload of people back there. Were there any interesting moments you had with anybody back there while you were off the stage?
Yeah, I was doing a TV interview with David Lee Roth from Van Halen for MV3. And he was in an incredible party mode. I think
I want to take this time to say that this is real whiskey here. The only people who put iced tea in Jack Daniels bottles is the Clash, baby!
I just remember doing the interview, and as we were doing it, there was a jet flyover, came screaming over, some military jets came flying over low, and that was it. David Lee Roth lost his entire intention span. So the TV camera was going, he was like, yeah, we are going to be rocking. Woo! And that was it. We couldn't get him back. His mind was up in those jets, and whatever he'd been taking took him to a different plane, but it was something else.
I spoke with David Lee Roth earlier in the day, and he was quite sober, actually. He's even talking about having run several miles and how the other members of his group should be running, because it's really hard activity on stage and all that. And so it's quite a surprise what he wound up with later in the day.
Yeah, but he was in a party mode. Now, I have a quick question because we are running out of time. Susan Krieger said, will there ever be a complete Us Festival film released? Because I would think that someone like a Showtime or a Netflix or an Amazon Prime would love to have someone of your caliber. I mean, because you are a name. I mean, Steve Wozniak is a name. Putting together maybe a 6-part documentary that could air on a major streaming service.
We've actually had intents and tried to do that. And the trouble is the groups and the rights and negotiating it all very hard. And we did put together a recent DVD for the US Festival, but it took so much work, and the whole thing, although the tapes exist, it just isn't going to happen. The last one that we put together was largely done by an accountant who had worked with me he worked on it, but you know, you almost have to have somebody that was there way back then. It was a long time ago.
I got it from Steve. It was a gift from Steve. He found a box of them in his garage and brought one to me when he came to see us last year with the B-52s when we did that concert at Saratoga Mountain Winery.
Mountain Winery.
Yeah, that's a beautiful venue. Thank you
Yes.
so much, Steve, for that. And hey, you know, you should sell those shirts. You'd make a pretty penny. These are just, and they're mint. They're like 40 years old and mint. Thank you guys. It's such an honor to have you here and to relive such an incredible experience in my life. Thank you for doing this.
Thank you, Terri, for an incredible performance, and to all of the bands. I mean, I think just about every group stepped up because they knew how important that day was for them and for music and for the hundreds of thousands of fans. And for all of us who were there on both sides of the stage, I think it stays with us. And so much credit goes to that guy there, Steve Wozniak. I mean, you've done so much for this planet. The US Festival meant so much to so many people and paved the way for things to come. And man, you have achieved so much. Thank you.
Thank you, Richard. Thank you, Steve. And thank you for loving music and being part of this with us.
I have so many more stories to add to US Festival stuff. We have to do this again.